So I did I don't know if some of you remember, I had a show I was doing with a girl called Unseriously, and there she is. So we're just going to add her right in. This is the fantastic Camille Land, ladies and gentlemen. Whoop whoop, raise the roof. Can you see a bit of hey? Look,
hi, Mama.
I thought it was
How are ya?
fitting that we have Freedom Tower right behind us.
Oh, I love that.
Right. Just like to jump in. You know, I'm the kind of person, when I have a dinner party and you come over, there's food there. Like, as soon as you walk in, there's food. So, you know, when I tell people they're going to hear a heartwarming story, I'm ready for it, you know? So let it roll, sister.
Okay. Well, 11 years ago, April, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And it was a really sad time for me. I had two little boys. My oldest son was 5 and my younger son was 3. And I was, oh, is that my buddy? I can hear him.
Oh my gosh. Hold on. Let's just get this over with. It's Camille. Okay. There she is.
Hi, baby. Oh, hi, buddy.
Okay.
He's a New York fancy cat now.
He's a New York fat cat.
So I was depressed, and a friend of mine called, and she's like, you need to do something with yourself. You can't just sit around all day and dwell in how sad you are. You need an escape. And she said, I have the perfect thing. Have you ever read the Harry Potter series? And I said, no, I've never read those books. So she brought them over for me.
Can I just underscore what a great friend that is? That you had a friend who reached into your fragile world, who herself has not gone through breast cancer, I'm sure, but knew that she could still help. She could still help. And I just think it's beautiful.
It just went to show, you know, how well she knows me. She knew I needed something. And I love that. And she didn't try to say, oh, don't worry about it. Or she was just, here's what you need right now. So it was wonderful. And I dove into those books. And when I would be sad, or if the day got to be just a little bit too heavy, I would kind of just come into my bedroom and I'd say to my husband, I need some time. And I would shut and lock the door and I would open a book and I would just go away for a little while into this world that this amazing author wrote. So cut to, okay, so I finish the books and I go through my treatment and I make it through all of that. And I'm working one day and online I see that Scholastic is doing JK Rowling is going to come to New York and at Carnegie Hall, and she's going to do a reading, and you could enter to win, because usually she didn't do stuff for adults. It was usually for kids. She would go to schools and stuff. So I enter, and it was only allowed 1 entry per person. And my husband, who is ridiculously lucky, I said to him, hey, listen, I'm going to enter this contest for you. And so he kind of teased me, but I entered him anyway. So
you entered him into it?
Yeah, I did. I entered me and I entered him. Yeah. So weeks later, maybe even a month or so after, the phone rings and I answer it. And they're like, hi, can I speak with Tom Land? And I'm like, who's calling? And she said, this is Vicky from Scholastic. And I'm like, I go, yes. And she said, he entered a contest to win tickets to see JK Rowling at Carnegie Hall. Well, he won 2 tickets.
Goosebumps again.
I'm like, oh my gosh. So Tom wasn't home at the time and I'm freaking out. Oh my gosh. Cause you know, money was tight at the time. I had just gone through all this cancer treatment. We had tons of medical bills. And I'm like,
completely.
Oh, gosh, we got to fly to New York. We live out here in LA now. So he gets home and I sit him down. I said, I got to talk to you about something. And I said, remember that contest that I entered you in? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, you won 2 tickets. And I said, please, babe, please, with everything that I have, can we go? I need to tell this woman how a grown woman those books, how much they impacted me, how they saved me when I needed saving. I need to tell her this. I just thought, if I was a writer, if I was a musician, if I, you know, and I touched somebody's life so strongly, and I had such an impact on somebody, I'd want to know, you know, and I just, I've got to tell her. I said, please, please, please. So he said, okay, we'll go. So we went out just for the weekend, and we flew out, and it was raining and it was cold in New York. And I had
it's what we do out here. We do it very good.
I know. And I'm from Jersey. You think I'd know this stuff, right? So I get to Carnegie Hall, and we have these lovely seats, and she comes out on stage, and I'm like, oh my gosh, amazing. She reads from, it was Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. It was the 7th book, the final book in the series. And she read a passage, and then she did a signing. So what you would do is they let everybody get a book to sign, and you got in line. And there was tons of like security, I suppose, from the publisher that was there, just kind of rushing people through the line. They didn't really want anybody to take too much of her time. She literally had her head down and was just signing books and pushing them along, signing books. So I'd say to my husband, I've got this whole story. I need to tell her. How am I going to do this? He's like, well, you better cut it down, babe, because look at, you're going to get like 2 seconds to talk to her. So I'm like, okay. So as I'm in line, I'm thinking, what am I going to do? And how am I going to cut this down? And
you're in this long line of fans.
Long line of people.
It's like a Comic-Con, right? It's
yeah.
crazy.
Oh, totally.
But
and
they got the line Nazis there, making sure everyone, right?
That's right. That's right. And they're not letting anybody talk to her. You know, if they try to talk to her, like, move it along, move it along. So I'm like, well, I'm going to get at least 2 sentences in as she's signing my book. So, so I'm next in line, and my husband, the brilliant man that he is, turns around to the person behind him and says, so where are you from? And he starts talking to them so that I have more time with her, you know? So I'm like, oh my gosh.
Another goosebump right there.
Totally. It was so awesome.
Team Land.
It was, I know, right? Hi, Mary, no. And it was so awesome. So he's talking to the people behind me, distracting them. And I hand her my book. She's got her head down. She doesn't even have her head up. And
she doesn't even have her head up.
No, she doesn't, no. And I say to her, excuse me, Joe, in April, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And all of a sudden, I just start crying. I can't, because it's the first time I had said it out loud to somebody who wasn't in my direct circle of life, you know, my immediate family and my closest friends. And it was the first time I had said it to anyone that I didn't know. I just got chills myself, remembering it. And the Scholastic people came over, like here they came, and she put her hand up and she stopped them.
She put her hand up.
Stopped them. And she looked up, and I'm just crying, and I'm going to cry now. And I couldn't even speak. And I said to her, I went just like this. I went, because that's all I could muster was just to mouth thank you to her. And she stood up, put her arms around me, was rubbing my back. And I know. And she said, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And she grabbed me like kind of as I pulled away, and she looked at me right now. She goes, you're going to be okay. And I just kept going, and I'm crying. And then I proceeded to walk away, and I got back to the hotel, and my husband and I left the next day. We get back to LA.
So beautiful, by the way.
And
so beautiful.
It was so
command that kind of energy that she stopped them, that your husband, like you had this beautiful plan that was so noble and lovely and everything along.
Yeah. We get back to LA. Oh, she had the sequin blouse on, and I had the sweater on. And when she pulled away, she pulled my sweater. I'm like, I'm never getting rid of this sweater because JK Rowling pulled my sweater. Anyway, we get back to LA. And I'm so upset with myself. I said to my husband, I can't believe that I didn't get to tell her what I wanted to tell her. It was so important for me to tell her that. And he said, well, why don't you write to her? And I'm like, really? You want me to write to her? He's like, and so day after day, days went by, and it's weighing on me. And I'm like, I went all the way across the country to see her, and I had my opportunity. I couldn't even talk. And he's like, Camille, just write to her. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to write to her. I'm going to tell her, because I'm not going to be at peace until I write to her. So, so I do. So I write to her. And I tease, I would tell everybody, you know, I'm going to be fine, because when JK Rowling was hugging me, she whispered reparo in my ear, which is a Harry Potter spell.
I was trying to remember.
Yeah.
Come here. I was telling this story to someone. Come here. I was. Here we are.
Oh, there you are.
So
yeah.
So wait.
So
she hugged you?
Yeah.
She said one of the
She didn't really. No. She didn't really. She just kept telling me I was going to be okay.
Okay.
But I would tell people, oh, I know I'm going to be fine, because when JK Rowling hugged me, she whispered reparo in my ear, and that's a Harry Potter repair spell, and so I'm going to be fine. So I told her that in my letter, that I told everybody that. Yeah. And so I wrote to her, and a couple months goes by, and I'd forgotten about it, because I felt at peace in my heart that I had told her what I needed to tell her, and I was satisfied with that. So the doorbell rings one day.
Now, where do you get her? Did you write to her publisher?
I wrote to her. Yes, I did. I wrote to her publisher in New York, and her one Bloomsbury in England. I wrote to both. I was saying letter. I sent it to both places. I wasn't sure which one would be better, so I just sent it to both. And the doorbell rings, and my husband goes down to answer it, and he comes up and he's like, "Hon, you got a letter?" And I'm like, "Really?" And I look at the letter, and it's got all these really pretty stamps on it of the Queen and everything, and I'm like, this is the fanciest junk mail I have ever seen, because I don't know anybody in London. I've never been to London. I don't know anybody. So I start to open the letter, and I'm just la-di-da, and I start to pull it out, and I see the owl, Hedwig the owl, stationary, and
people are giving you the hearts and the love and the smiles.
I'm like, she wrote me back. She wrote to me, and she did. She wrote to me this beautiful letter. And she said, I remember you, and I knew you had more to say, and I'm so glad you, actually, I have the letter. I'm going to pan up here, people. It's right here. I framed it. See the pretty stamp?
Those stamps.
I know. And she wrote to me, and she did, and that's the way she writes her letter. She types the top, and then she finishes the letter in her own handwriting, and then signs it.
Let me see. Go back to that again. Go back to that. Now that I know that part.
Yeah. Here, I'll show you. See? Can you see? I know there's a glare. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I see the type. There's a lot of type.
Yeah, she typed a lot. Do you want me to read it to you real quick?
Well, yeah.
All right, I will. Let me see. I'm going to bring you with me here. So I'm sorry if you're a little jiggly. I'll try not to be jiggly. All right, she wrote. Oh, look at my little, this is my Harry Potter corner of my house. I've got to tell you. It's my little Harry Potter stuff. Yes. People send me stuff, and I buy stuff, and I love that. Okay, she wrote. It's dated December 18th, 2007. And she wrote, Dear Camille, I remember you. I knew you hadn't said everything you wanted to, and I'm so glad you managed to finish on paper. What a wonderful letter. Thank you. And incidentally, what a wonderful husband. Because I told her how he stopped the line and stuff. She wrote, I so hope that you're feeling okay at the moment. You didn't say whether or not you're going through chemo at the moment, so I've got some idea of what's happening to you from my friends' experiences. And I know it can be grim. And that's apart from the huge emotional impact of having to deal with cancer. Camille, I'm gonna cry. Camille, if Harry has helped you at all during this time, it is one of the best things he has ever done. And I am humbled and honored to think that somebody like you has been able to escape into my books. I might not have said it at the time, but take one for free. Reparo. I hope this reaches you before the holidays. If so, have a wonderful time with your family. I'm thinking of you. And again, thank you so very much for writing to me. It meant more than you could ever know. With the best wishes to you and your family, Joe. How amazing is that? I just, how amazing is that?
It's so amazing.
She's a wonderful, amazing woman. And I'm so humbled, and I'm so grateful. And
wow.
Yeah. So it's had a really profound place in my heart, a really has changed me as a person. And I have such, you know this, Denise, I have such a nerdy love for Harry Potter.
Yes.
It will always be so very, very special to me. Always, because of what it meant for me and what it did for me. So I don't mind. I have my little always shirt on, Harry Potter always shirt, and I'm representing.
And you can share it with your whole family, you know.
Yeah.
It's just,
my daughter's into it right now, so
it's such a
really
proof
fun.
of the arts, you know, of story,
Yeah.
of, you know, song, music, story, like what it does, what it brings. And you took care of the medical side, but without that soul-filling aesthetic part of your journey, sometimes the medical part doesn't work, you know?
I don't know what I would have done. Honestly, all kidding aside, I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have that.
Well, we haven't been kidding at all.
Yeah, no. I don't know what I would have done, really. It saved me. I know it did. Emotionally, it saved me because it was a really sad time, really dark time. Because, you know, 6 months before I was diagnosed with cancer, I lost a baby. I was 6 months pregnant, and I had lost my daughter. And then it was a very dark, dismal time for me. And it saved me. And I am forever grateful.
Who is the friend who suggested
my girlfriend Gina. My girlfriend Gina.
All right, big shout out to her for suggesting not an antidepressant or go out and get wild and drink booze or, you know, let's have a bitch fest. No, dive into a beautiful fantasy series of books.
Yeah, and warm your heart and your soul, and I did, and it really did. It will be forever special. And I have something fun to tell you too. An update is that
look at all the hearts. I love
that. Thank you, everyone. In 3 weeks, I'm going to London, and I'm going to there's a big Warner Brothers Harry Potter exhibit there, and I'm going with a girlfriend, and I'm super excited. I've always wanted to go, so I'm really happy. So I do, you know, it's just part of who I am, part of my life, and I embrace that. I'm grateful for that.
And you know, one of our shows we did, which we haven't aired for a while, and a lot of my new friends here haven't seen it, but you know, as a photographer, I get the opportunity to do certain photography shoots and magazine covers, and I was asked to photograph LA Parent magazine, and the issue they were doing was for the grand opening of the Harry Potter theme park at Universal Studios.
Yeah.
It wasn't even open yet, and I had gotten a call 2 months early to do the cover, and the location was going to be Universal Studios, and they asked me if I could help them cast a few kids to dress in Harry Potter garb. And so you and I were taping one of our episodes, and in the middle of taping, I said, you know, I've got this photo shoot coming up, and I'd like to use your son. Remember, I had already said I've got a shoot if they could be available, and you're like, sure, whatever for you, Denise, please. And so I said, by the way, the shoot is for the opening of Harry Potter, and we are going to get to go there before it even opens. And
I cried like a child.
It's so fun to give a gift like that, to give a surprise to someone who is just so involved and is such a fan of something, you know?
Yeah. And it was I was looking at those pictures recently, and I was like a kid. There was nobody there. It was just us. And
you literally were a kid in a candy store, because they have candy stores all over. We went to
and I was taking selfies with every display, and there were no lines, and I got to ride the rides and eat the goodies, and it was really fun.
A news crew came because they did
I was on the news.
Right, they did a small opening in the second half of that night, which you stayed for. But there were still a couple hundred people there. Out of that, two people make it on the news? You and your son.
Me and my son. Yeah, that's right.
It's just it's like amazing. You just lean into an area that you love, and it's amazing like how you attract that, you know. I'm like, I cracked up when you sent me the little news link. I'm like, of course she made it to the news with a couple hundred people there.
Right.
Not to mention your son is super gorgeous. You're beautiful.
Thank you. That's so sweet. Yeah, he's a really special kid. But I think the moral of the story too is that they're.
Oh wait, this guy Josh Gilbert said after this, I have to get off Facebook. There is nothing else I want to see for the rest of the day. Right?
Oh,
pretty
Josh,
sweet
that's
story.
sweet.
This made my whole day. Oh, thank you, Josh.
That's very sweet. Don't despair. It's what I think that, because you never know what it's going to be. It could be a CD, it could be a movie, it could be a book, it could be anything, meditation, whatever. It could be, you don't ever give up. There's always something out there. Try it all to raise your soul up and pick you up. And it really saved me, honestly. And I'm 11 years cancer free on April 19th. And I know. And life is good. I have 3 beautiful children. I have season passes to Universal and from my friend Sue, who I love so much. And yeah, I'm going to London.
I love it. Thank you a gajillion. You're such a beautiful storyteller. You feel it again. You gave me goosebumps again, and I'm a hard audience. I knew what was coming. I knew how the story ended, and you still had me.
Oh, well, thank you. It's, it's because it's so heartfelt. And honestly, when I don't tell the story often, but when I do, it brings me back. I still can't believe it. Like, it just was such an amazing experience. And it was such a full circle moment for me. It just doesn't get any better than that, right?
Yeah. And I loved it. And you actually didn't stop until you got to fully communicate what you wanted to,
Yeah. Because it was really bothering me. I wasn't at peace. I was like, I felt like I had missed my opportunity, but ultimately it all played out the way it was supposed to. And
of course it did.